Yes, I do. Hi, everyone. Welcome to Necessary Troublers June meeting. So lovely to see all these lovely faces on this wonderful Sunday afternoon. Thank you all so much for coming out. And I am yet again filling in for our illustrious PJ, who is still recovering from surgery. For those who are giving her warm thoughts, thank you so much and continue to lift her. Please do so. We are still praying for her recovery. And right now, I'm going to turn it over to Becky to go over our agenda for today. Becky, over to you.
Thank you so much, Aquaria. And I would echo Aquaria's welcome to everybody. Really lovely to see both new faces and familiar faces. And if this is your first Necessary Trouble meeting, if you would just drop your name and email address in the chat, it would be very lovely. I'm going to go ahead and share the PowerPoint. And let me just start by saying a little bit, before I talk about the agenda for today, say a little bit about kind of context. And, you know, when we do the context these days, it's so bizarre because, on the one hand, we usually talk about the electoral dates. What are the critical dates for the elections this year? And at the same time, I want to acknowledge that there are these two levels of context, and one context are the races that we will be working in this year. And the other level of context is what's happening in Los Angeles, for instance, where democracy is really going off the rails. You are probably following this, but in case not, President Trump has ordered today that the National Guard will be going into Los Angeles. The last time, and this is against the governor's requests and positions, the last time a president went around a governor to send in the National Guard was 1965, when LBJ sent it in to protect the civil rights protesters in Selma. So what's happening is very serious. There has also been, among the violence that's taken place in LA, there has been the service worker union head. The head of that union has been assaulted and arrested. He has been in the hospital. He is now out of the hospital, but still in police custody. You will hear later today in the meeting about a protest tomorrow related to that. So I just really want to make space for both levels, and we can't really take our eyes off either one. We can't take our eyes off the ways in which democracy is going off the rails, and we can't take our eyes off the crucial unfolding of elections this year. So we will be talking in the first part of the meeting much more about the electoral unfolding. And when we get to the Necessary Trouble updates, we'll be talking about protests and actions specifically related to some of the events that are unfolding. So let me also say, in terms of dates, this Tuesday, Daniel Blackman has his appeal hearing to determine whether or not he is still eligible to run. Primary voting ends the end of this week, and June 17th will be the election day for that primary, with a runoff in July if needed. We will also hear a little bit today about a special election in Senate District 21, Cherokee and Fulton County. One Democrat and 7 GOP candidates, so a really good opportunity for us. And then, of course, in November, we'll be having the general and the municipal, the PSC general and the municipal elections. So the agenda. I had mentioned that there were kind of two chunks for the agenda today. The The first chunk we'll be hearing from is related to the rural electoral work. And you will probably remember that at the beginning of this year, Necessary Trouble made the very important strategic decision to really, really devote our effort and partnership with rural work. It is essential to the future of Georgia. It is essential for winning statewide races. It's essential for reclaiming the House. It is essential for a million reasons. So we're so happy to be able to devote a good chunk of time to hearing from folks who do this rural work. The folks, Cathi Frederickson with the DPG, Rural Caucus. We will be hearing from a slate of rural candidates. We'll be hearing about a new Fighting 50 initiative. And then we will be talking about work group reports and calls to action. So I'm going to stop there. Aquaria, do I turn it over to you or somebody else? You're muted. Okay.
Okay, hold one second. Thank you so much. Normally, I would say turn it over to Gareth, but I saw you mention something, but I see many of you are already doing it. For our new people, if you haven't done so already, we're going to ask that you place your contact information in the chat. Please, please, please list your name, email address, as well as your phone number so that we know how to get in contact with you. We're so happy to have you join us on today, and we look forward to continuing to reach out and have you join us along this journey. Thank you so much, Becky, for, definitely lifting up those things that are happening almost in like real time, right? It's so many things that happened last week, and now just within less than 24 hours, here we are yet again spinning and definitely, on the path of defending, democracy. And so with that, thank you so much for, just reminding us what the purpose, of why we're here, and definitely, what this meeting is all about for today. And with that, Gareth, I'm going to turn it over to you.
Hello, everyone. I'm Gareth Finley. I'm a member of Necessary Trouble, and I'm also a resident of a rural area. I have a cow pasture adjoining to my backyard, and I'm here to introduce Cathi Frederickson, who's going to brief us on the Democratic Party of Georgia Rural Caucus. The DPG's Rural Caucus is the single largest caucus or subgroup of the Democratic Party. It has a huge number of counties, more than 100 counties. I forgot the exact number. And it is also the most vibrant and active subgroup of the Democratic Party of Georgia as of this moment. They're amazing people. Cathi Frederickson is the chair of the Georgia 12th Congressional District Democratic Party Committee, and she is also the interim chair of the Georgia Democratic Party Rural Council. It's called the Rural Council. So, Cathi, if you're on here, I'd like to turn it over to you.
Sure, thank you. And I did have slides if you guys are willing to share them. If not, no big deal. I can also wing it. So I am so glad to be with you guys. Again, my name is Cathi Frederickson, and I am chair of Georgia's 12th Congressional District, as well as interim chair of the Georgia Democratic Rural Council. And so the Rural Council here in the state of Georgia, we cover approximately 140 counties with the Democratic Party. And in those 140 counties, we consider them rural because of the 2020 census data. And so out of 159 counties in the state, 140 are considered rural. One of the things that we do in order to make sure that our rural county committees, as well as our rural constituents, because we do have people who join our calls who are not actually part of county committees, or maybe there's not a county committee where they are, is that we make sure that we have consistency around our meetings. You guys know as well as I do how important that is when it comes to activism. We want to make sure that our people know when we're going to meet, that it's going to be consistent, and they can put it in their calendars, and they're always ready to join us. So our general body meetings are the third Wednesday of every single month at 7 p.m. We meet for about an hour. And on those calls, we'll have anywhere between 35 people up to 100, and we usually have speakers. We've been very, very fortunate to have had folks from Dirt Road Organizing, of course, the Fighting 50, and some other really great people join us on our calls. And um, the next person I'm trying to get is Governor Walz, because why not? He's running for office, and having folks like us here in Georgia help him could, be a little bit of a boost. We're going to try, you never know. And then, of course, we also have Vote Builder training on the first Monday of every single month. The Vote Builder training is not for people who have just started. This is for county committees as well as candidates who need to learn how to do things like building lists, text banking, phone banking, and so forth. And we have those again every first Monday of the month at 7 p.m. They are free to everyone to join. We have people from as far away as California joining those calls. With the Vote Builder training, we do provide recordings after the fact as well. So that way you can go back after we've had the training and pause it whenever you need to do something. So that way you can follow along in Vote Builder as Tom, our vice chair, is working through the system itself. And it's pretty handy dandy. And then our third meeting that we have every month is going to be generalized training. These are our extracurricular activities that we have. We have gone through social media for county committees. We've gone through candidate training, all kinds of different things. So our next one, which will be next Thursday, is going to be, we're talking about data in Vote Builder, the census, and other places where you can find data as a rural candidate to be able to do candidate outreach, to understand your constituents, to be able to make those connections in your community, to be an effective candidate as we're running for office. Running for office in rural counties and communities is not for the faint of heart. It is tough. Canvassing is different. We don't go door to door for the most part, but we do try and meet people where they are. And so as we're talking about candidates and committees and communities, one of the biggest hurdles that the rural folks have had has been messaging. Messaging in the rural communities is going to be different than it is for folks in urban settings, because the language needs to be tailored more towards the community members where you're speaking. So for instance, my day job is I'm a statewide organizer for Reproductive Freedom for All. And so I talk about reproductive health care, which involves abortion care, right? So when I'm in my local communities, and this goes not just as my position for work, but also in the 12th and also in the rural council, is I want to make sure that instead of putting the emphasis on abortion healthcare, that I am talking about bodily autonomy instead. And so understanding how that messaging is different in rural communities is really crucial to us as progressives and Democrats to be able to make connections with people on the ground. It is really, really important that we are mindful of the different ways that different people speak, as well as the different tone that they have around specific topics, and to stay away from some things and to avoid those conversations. And it's different whether you're in Glenn County down in the southeast corner of the state, Dade County in the northeast corner or northwest corner of the state. So being able to cater our conversations is definitely something that we have been working on and working through with the rural council in order to make sure that our county committees have what they need, and our folks understand how to get their messaging across in their communities in such a fashion that is not going to scare people away. So it's been quite a battle, but we've been able to figure out some ways to do that. And one of the ways that I'm hoping to do this, because as she stated, as Gareth stated, is I am the interim chair. We do have our elections for not necessarily permanent chair, but the chair who's going to finish out this term on the 18th of June. And so if I get elected, one of the things that I am hoping to put into place is a rural council platform. Yes, the Democratic Party of Georgia has a platform of its own, and that platform is pretty good. But rural folks have different needs and different wants in our areas than people who are in downtown Atlanta. So we want to expand rural broadband. I am in the middle of nowhere, but I have 2 gig fiber at my home. 2 gig fiber, which is pretty amazing. The closest gas station to me is 6.5 miles. The closest grocery store is 15 miles away, but I still have fiber internet access. But we want to make sure that other people have that too. But rural healthcare is something that is sorely lacking as we lose additional hospitals and caregivers in our communities. And it is causing issues. Like we have certain counties, we have like 8 counties in the state that don't have a hospital or a doctor. Can you imagine not having a doctor in your county? For me, the closest eye doctor is an hour away. The closest OBGYN is an hour away. We almost lost our maternity ward in the hospital where I'm at, but thankfully we were able to save that because of shifting of some funds and some creative accounting by the hospital board, and I appreciate that. Also, we want to enhance the quality of education. As you probably know, Georgia is one of the last in the country when it comes to education opportunities for our children. And by enhancing the education systems within the rural communities, we're doing two things. We are increasing the likelihood of people being able to further their education later down the line and to actually have more progressive values, because the more educated folks typically have more progressive values because they understand how things work. But we're also going to help break the preschool to prison pipeline. The preschool to prison pipeline here in rural communities is absolutely appalling. They are building privatized prisons in order to be able to house people, and they do that by keeping people poor. They keep them uneducated, and the only thing that they can do in their communities is turn to crime. And so having good education opportunities, better schools, allows us to be able to break that system, that cycle. And when we are looking at a holistic view of the rural communities, protecting family farms. Family farms are dying in exponential amounts because of the fact that there's no money in farming anymore. People want to go to the cities because there's better opportunity in the cities, and the family farms are going by the wayside of the CAFOs, or the corporate farms. And corporate farms are farms that are, think of the big chicken houses in Gainesville. That's a CAFO. That's a corporate agriculture situation. We don't want those. We want small family farms to be able to feed ourselves. That also means we're going to be more sustainable, that we're going to be better taking care of the land, and we're going to be using fewer resources that put a drain on the planet. Excuse me. Next one. There we go. So investing in rural infrastructure. If you guys have ever gone on the back roads down the middle of nowhere in Georgia, you know that those roads are terrible. We need better roads. We need more power that is going to be not just sustainable, but also is going to be less taxing on the national grid. We learned from Helene as Helene ravaged the east coast, the east side of the state, east central Georgia. We were without power at my farm for 2.5 weeks. And when they did get the power stood back up, and let me tell you, without power, we had no water because we're on a well. So as they got the power stood back up, they were in such a hurry to do it that, yeah, the power came back on, but we now experience power outages anytime the wind blows more than 15 miles an hour, which right now, today, has been awful. I'm really surprised that it hasn't gone out yet. So investing in that infrastructure means that our folks are going to have a better lifestyle. And talking about power, having a fair energy policy, this is where these PSC elections are so incredibly important, because I'm on an EMC. And so me being a customer of Washington EMC means that I don't have to deal with that nonsense from Southern Power, right? We don't have to deal with the stuff from Georgia Power. So we are fairly lucky about that. But, making sure that everybody has access to reliable energy is really, really important. And those two are tied together. Excuse me, sorry. My allergies are terrible today. One thing about our rural communities is that the majority of the places, the old businesses, these beautiful old antique buildings, is that they are not accessible to people with disabilities. Whether it is wider walkways and wider sidewalks, ramps to be able to get places, accessible doorways and hallways. We need to make sure that people with disabilities are shown the respect that everybody is. We having these sidewalks, well, if you have sidewalks in your community, the majority of the places where I'm at don't, and they don't have any plans to build sidewalks because they don't have any funding for it. And that funding's gone to other things. I don't even know where it's gone. There's a federal investigation into where our local funds have gone, but that's a conversation for another time. And then, in my opinion, this is the most important piece of building a rural platform, is to getting our young Dems involved. The young Dems are not only the future of our party, the future of progressive politics, but they are the future of our communities. They are the bench that we need in order to make sure that our mayors, our city councilmen and women, our county commissioners, our Board of Education people are going to know what's going on. They're going to be educated on how the systems work. And hopefully it's going to be a younger group because no offense, everybody here, but the majority of our government who's representing us is stale, pale, and male, and they're not reflective of our communities. And we need to change that. And in order to change that, we need to get the young folks involved in middle school, high school, whenever it is. You talk about it at the dinner table when they're small so they understand about empathy, sharing, those kinds of things. That's where we build our bench. The young Dems are the backbone of our party, of every progressive movement out there, and we need to get them involved, get them interested, and get them trained. So if I get elected, that will be my biggest push. And of course, affordable housing for all. Here in Swainsboro, Georgia, you are going to find a 2-bedroom rundown rat's nest of a trailer, and they're going to ask you to spend $1,000 a month on that piece of junk. It is appalling. It is absolutely disgusting. And so because of the influx of the business that, Brian Kemp is so excited about, now our rural communities are paying the price by higher housing prices because landlords now feel like they've got all these people who are going to be making good money at these plants to be able to come and rent these homes. But what about you and I? I still need I have kids who are in college. I have kids who are, older who still might need my help. I also would like to be able to pay for retirement. Thankfully, we own our home, but for other folks, this is a really big problem. So having a platform to be able to help lift up and support our rural folks is really important. And so, hopefully I'll get elected to the rest of the full term on the 18th, and then I'll be able to put that into practice. But here's my contact information should you guys need anything. Like I said, our meetings are very regular every single month. And if you have any questions or anything, I am here to answer them. I know I ran a little bit over because I'm a talker, but anything you guys need, please let me know.
Cathy, hi Cathy, this is Pam. Great job. Do you sense that the allure of Trump is starting to fade in your area?
The find out phase is starting to happen, and it is affecting people locally, especially the farmers. As you may or may not know, Statesboro was hit 2 days ago, which is about an hour from me, and a couple restaurants have had to close because they don't have enough staff now. And so it is absolutely imperative that we use language when talking to these folks here rural that, it's not like, around and find out you made this mess, you have to sit in it, you voted for Trump, this is your fault. We can't be talking to them that way. Instead, we need to be having a conversation about, okay, well, how is this affecting you and how can I help you? What can we do to help you? Because we as Democrats are the helpers. And we need to make sure that instead of being condescending and arrogant about the choice that we made by voting for the right candidate, instead of coming at it with an attitude like that, instead of saying, well, okay, well, how do we move forward together? It catches them off guard, but it also helps work towards building those bridges because we need to show that we are the party of empathy and of helpers and of doing the right thing and the party that lifts as we rise instead of being the condescending, arrogant, egotisticals that we find in the other party.
Any other questions? Cathy, thank you so very much. That was really, really, really wonderful. Gareth, anything you want to say by way of closing this piece?
Hey, everybody. I was finishing some gravy. I wanted to let everyone know that Necessary Trouble has made a commitment to assist the rural communities. and that we will be assisting to support the Georgia Democratic Rural Council, whether it's under Cathy's leadership or probably Cathy's participation if there's a new leader. No matter what, we're here to stand up for the rural communities. And if you would be interested in joining this, Becky, is it time to call for people to put in their name?
Sure, that would be wonderful. Name and email address in the chat if you would like to help in this effort.
Yes, I'll be your liaison. When I'm not making gravy, I'll be busy helping the Rural Council. And just put your name, email, and put the word Rural Council, with 2 words, Rural Council. So Catherine, Angie, Jane, put your name, email, and the word Rural Council. Thank you so much, everyone. On to the next person on the agenda.
Thank you all.
I think the next person is me. First of all, I'm sorry for those of you who have heard this 10 times already, but I'll just give a brief overview of what the Fighting 50 is for new people. We are closely allied with Necessary Trouble, but a different entity. Necessary Trouble couldn't do it without them, though. They're our main source of volunteers. So our mission is to recruit and support Democrats running for Georgia House in red districts like Cathy's. We have been around for actually just a year. Our first slate of candidates was in 2024. And we had many wonderful candidates. I have 2 of the most exceptional ones on the call today. I was hoping they could both be on the screen, but I think they're going to have to talk one at a time. And then we'll do questions together. So Defonio, I'd like to call on you, Defonio Daniels, and I will let you introduce yourself and tell everyone about your district.
Hello, my name is Defonio Daniels, and I live down at the bottom of Georgia on the southeast corner of Georgia, touching Florida, right above, Fernandina Beach. And in my district, I should say, it's pretty rural and it's pretty red. And the issues that we have here is one-sided. So they don't seem to see that there's I should say, they don't seem to see that there's a lot of Democrats in our area that actually are now starting to get involved. I am the first minority to ever run in my district. It's just that bad. So everything that we see is pretty. Everybody that's on city council, where there's the commissioners, all red. So we're basically what we did, and the Fighting 50 helped me out with it a lot. Was basically hold our elected officials accountable, and basically we put a whole bunch of our efforts into turning the ones that never get off the couch to actually get up and actually vote. And we was very successful in that area. We have turned out, I think we turned out around about 9,000 total. It was about 9,000 total of, I would say, of those were probably about 5,200, but we've seen that did not vote in the previous elections due to the fact that there was no one there to identify or represent their party. So they felt like there was no need for them to vote. So putting someone in these districts that don't normally actually vote benefits, and also shows the elected officials that there are other people to be putting out your attention to versus just doing it for your party. So the struggle was real. Knocking these doors in the rural area is something totally different than it would be in the north portions of the state. You're basically dealing with a whole bunch of people that don't really identify with Democrats. But the thing about it is as you start talking to them, they start realizing that there's some things that Democrats or Republicans can benefit from as Democrats, because I think I heard somebody saying about the finding out portion right now is starting to take effect, and I'm starting to get a lot of Republicans calling me and asking me, "Am I going to run again? I can't wait for you to run again. Please do it." So I know you ran last year. Like, hey, all kind of questions, all kind of emails, all kind of texts, just wanting to support me as a Democrat from the Republican side. So that's pretty much a lot of things that I faced in the rural area down here in the South. and I will look. I'm looking for all the help and support that I can possibly get. And the Fighting 50 has done everything that it could possibly do for me. And hey, I can't I can't give more too much praise, or I should say, I mean, I'm thankful. I am so thankful for the Fighting 50. So that's all I got for today. Thank you guys.
Well, you're the hero to us, Defoncio. He had a lot of videos of him, and you just canvass every door, right? You're Democrat or Republican. You just went to every door.
I'm canvassing
dripping
right
with
now.
Sweat. Yo, you are?
Yes, I am. I just
my
came
goodness.
in to have this meeting. So, but yeah, I'm actually canvassing right now for the election that we got coming up right now, and also starting up my early canvassing right now for the following year. So, I'm not waiting I can't wait, because everything that I need, I think is, if I hit it early, I will benefit a lot more. So that's why I'm staying engaged and doing certain things. From that election, I also became the commissioner of the Southeast Georgia Consolidated Housing Authority. They assigned me to that, and I'm also the head, I should say that the chair for the housing committee for the NAACP. All of that was a result of my election running last year, and they I guess there's a lot of people see me always engaged, so that's one of the benefits of that as well.
It's so great, Defoncio.
I have a question.
Oh, sure.
Do you mind if I ask a question? I was just curious, these people that are now the Republicans that are coming to you and looking for you to run again, can you tell us like what the top 3 reasons are? Like, I'm sure there's a lot, but can you sort of pinpoint a couple areas?
Some of the areas that we have, I can say that we are facing here in our area, is basically a lot of the dealings that they've encountered is where the representatives are not listening to the actual citizens. So, so when I'm gonna give an example. We had a spaceport project here, and the citizens, they voted on it, and the citizens voted completely against it. Well, instead of the commissioners listening to what the citizens said, they completely pushed it in. They pushed it through anyway. So that resulted in a major lawsuit, and it turned to the point to where the commissioners turned around and sued the citizens. So the citizens sued the commissioners, sued basically the county, and they turned back around and sued the citizens. So with their own money. Those are some of the things that we're dealing with. Also, we're seeing the impact of some of the firings when it comes to the VA, and I mean, also I'm connected to the military base right here, Kings Bay, and we have some of the civilians that were in their probationary period that are also fired. So we live in a military community, and being a veteran, I get to talk to a lot of the to the government employees, and also the civilian, I should say the military employees and spouses and stuff. So there's a lot of issues, but those are some of the biggest issues that we face, including, since you asked, the sheriff race last year was another big problem that hopefully we got rid of. We are to the point to where we can't even afford insurance for our officers. So when I got here maybe 10 years ago, our insurance was like $2,500, where we got so many lawsuits over the period of time that it got to where it was $500,000 a year for the insurance, to the fact that the insurance companies at this point right now, seeing our sheriff department or criminal justice system as a liability. So right now we don't have any insurance covering our officers. So.
Yeah. Thank you. I appreciate that.
So why don't we go on to Cathy, Kott, and then Defoncio, if you can stick around, we might have a short Q&A after that for both of you. So Cathy Kott, she's on the very opposite end of the state, right underneath Tennessee, one of the toughest districts we have, about 15% Democrat. So Cathy, could you introduce yourself?
Yep. So I'm Cathy Kott. I am running for the State House seat number 6, District 6 up here. It includes a little piece of Whitfield County, all of Murray County, which Murray County, both of those counties touch Tennessee. So where Defoncio touches Florida, I touch Tennessee. But same demographics as far as rural. I think when I went and researched, there has not been a Democrat to run in this district for over 20 years. So I've lived here for 25, probably going on 30 years. And I've never had a Democrat state representative or any other position, honestly, to run for. We did have a Democrat sheriff, but turns out he was just Democrat in name only. And we found that out this last cycle because he got voted out. If you're asking about has the tide changed or not a bit up here that I can feel. So it's still very much cold shoulder reception once they decide to label me with a D. I did a lot of my campaigning in public spaces. I hit up festivals, like we have outdoor in the towns. They have an outdoor music concert or something. I would hit those. I set out at football games on Friday nights to shake hands to people waiting to get in. So I spent a lot of my campaigning time finding places where these not Democrats, where people gathered. One of my campaign slogans is community over party. And I spend a lot of time when Cathy Frederickson talked about the platform, the medical care, the mental health care, those are big issues up here. And when I talk to people about actual issues, we have great conversations. And then suddenly they realize that I'm a Democrat and they'll say things like, I couldn't do that. I've never voted for a Democrat before. And I have to point out to them that might be part of the reason we have the problems that we do, that we haven't had any choice. And that's one of the reasons that I'm here. It's going to probably take a while before we sweep this seat, to be honest. And I have a little slide that I pulled up. I wish I would have had the forethought to send it, but I'm a working girl, so I'm going to read to you. It's a piece of a speech that I gave to Democrats. So I did a lot of actually, preaching to the choir up here. So we have the basic of infrastructure that needed built. So when you run a campaign in a place that hasn't had a Democrat in over 20 years, that means there are no people who know how to run campaigns, right? There's no place where people have been able to spend their energy, know how to organize any kind of outreach. So all of these things have to be built from scratch. But I want to say this slide is labeled what is a win? So I had to, for my own mental health and my own, motivation, I had to look at the reality of where I live and the work that needs to be done. And I had to define for myself and for my community what it looks like to have a win. And so when I realized that I was turning out voters, I was meeting people who were so excited to just have someone to vote for. They haven't had that. So that's a big win. I am giving people up here that felt like, and so many people will say, I felt like the tiniest blue dot in a red sea, to give them some hope. That's huge. And that's a win. So they start coming out, they start talking to their neighbors, they start asking how they can help. I just can't tell you, those are huge wins. These are people who, like me, were sitting on the couch, yelling at the TV, wishing there was something that we could do. And when you have a candidate, there is something you can do. I can tell you that when I go to festivals, I usually head up like the vendors because they're standing still and I can stop and talk to them. And I'll have this really nice long conversation with them. And they realize that we have so much in common and nothing's been done for so long. And I say to them, do you even know who your representative is? And they don't. The reason they don't is because their representative has not had to do anything. So the guy who I'm running against was born and raised here, which I am not. I've been here for 25 plus years, but I wasn't born and raised here. His family name is all over town. People know him from church. They know him from probably golfing or whatever. And I'm a working class woman. I've raised a kid. I work as a registered nurse. And I work long hours getting my kids through school and through college. So a lot of people in rural communities live that way. I think that's something too that makes a big difference in our relating to each other in city communities. Most of us get in our car and leave our town to go work. And we stop at the grocery store on the way home, and then we come to our rural homes, right? There is places that we gather, but not the same as you do in the city, and not as much interaction with each other on a regular basis. And that just makes for a different kind of community, not good or bad, just different. And so we have to approach those communities different. But I think what I was going to say about like meeting these people in like the vendors I was talking about, when I talked to them, I realized that I might not be switching their vote, but I am giving them something different to think about. They have never had their view of the world challenged in the slightest bit, right? And so just to get them to sit and think, maybe to question some little piece on the Fox News that night when they're eating dinner, watching TV, I think that's a big win. That's not something that these people up here have ever had. And so lastly, about wins, I want to say, here's another one that really matters is when our legislators have a competitor, they have to work a little bit. They have to show up. The guy I ran against, he only showed up for one event, the whole campaign cycle last time. But he did have to show up for that one because it was the Chamber of Commerce. It was a friendly audience for him and not for me. He doesn't have an office. He doesn't answer phone calls. He doesn't show up for the community in person other than what he does in his life and in his family, which is huge. But that's not the community. That's his family, right? And he votes along party lines 100%. So I think that I'll probably leave it there. But those are big wins, people, and we have to start somewhere. I did want to throw out one last thing, if I still have some time, is this cycle. One of the ways that I'm going to get attention, and one of the things that I'm going to do with as much funds as I can spare for these things. And of course, my big ask is, donations, because that's how we get funded, is I'm going to make my events some kind of community service. So one of the things I heard Cathy Frederickson say is that, a lot of words, the empathy, the showing up in our community as helpers. The thing is, we have to put the word service back in public service. These are not to be, extremely powerful positions that rule over people. They are service positions. So I understand service. It's what I've done my whole life. So to put a short note on it, the first service event that I'm going to have is coming up at the end of this month. It turns out there's a week in the month that the school lunches, they serve in the summertime. The people go to these locations, pick up breakfast and lunch for their kids. Well, they're going to take a vacation from June 30th to July 4th. And me and as many people as I can gather, and oh my God, as many eggs as I can buy, I'm going to load them in the back of my pickup truck. I'm going to put the tailgate down, sit on it with my sign, and give out dozens of eggs to people who don't have food coming to them that week of the summer. It'll get me some name recognition. I'll get to talk to people. And at the end of the day, I'll put my head on the pillow and know that I fed a child. I helped feed a child. And I want support to do that. Just like anything, when I agreed to run for this, I told Pam, I told Bob, I said, I will do what the community supports me to do. I can't do anything out of my personal funds because I ain't got any. I'm still working, full time and taking care of my mom, and I could go on. But when I get funded and I have money in the bank right now left over from last time, I just saw a hole and a place where I could do some service. So this is the kind of energy that we can bring to rural communities that they have, I mean, I want to say never seen. And the things that are going on nationally, as powerful and scary as they are, it's really important in our rural communities for us to stay focused on the needs that are right in front of us, right? I understand what's going on in Los Angeles is terrifying, terrifying. It's happening here in this community. You probably saw it on the news. We had a young girl, get wrongly arrested and so on. I showed up for those protests, but the important thing is to stay right here. Okay, I'm probably done. Yeah.
I'm just being mindful of time.
Of course. I'm sorry.
Love hearing from you.
Politicians.
I wanted to make sure that we had time for our third candidate.
Of course, I'm sorry.
Who's here from a rural area. Cathy, amazing. You've got so many amazing comments you have to see in the chat. Michael Kott is here with us as a third candidate running in rural Georgia, and I personally recruited him to come here today. Michael.
Hi, everyone. I'm Michael Call. That last name is just like what the crow says. Call, call. That's me. I'll be running as a candidate for District 114. And the reason why I decided to run was I noticed that the politicians, like what Cathy had said, are not being challenged. There's only one person on there, and they are of the Republican Party. The other thing is that my particular representative that's in the state, I went to the Capitol and I wanted to talk to him on the lobby day, and he didn't come out to talk, you know? And it was like, hold up, I'm a constituent. You're supposed to be willing to at least take some time to say hello, no matter how crazy you might think I am, or not. But that was what really got me to want to do this. And also, just the legislation that has been passed, I see that they're not really passing legislation to help people. It's more about the persons in position and for profits. So it's one of these things that's out in where I'm at. It's we are far enough out from an area, but we still are a rural area. Because when you come to where I'm at, there's cows, there's wheat being grown, a whole lot of different things being done. Our post office boxes are not right out, in front of our houses. They're a little bit of ways away. But it's one of those things in which when I talk to people like the mayor that is of the town that I'm a part of, and the other people that are here to see what they're in need of, is one of the things that really gets me is when I was sitting here, it came and said that my internet connection was weak. And we need to be able to fix that. I'm only 8 miles away from Covington, which has had high-speed internet for a long time. Now, why does it take an infrastructure bill to get them to even consider to put that 8 miles out? And then the people here don't understand the reason why it's getting done is not because of Governor Kemp decided to give it to the EMCs or what have you. It was because of this infrastructure bill, trying to help people to understand what affects them. And just like Cathy has said, and previous other people have said, is they need to understand what's going on the national level, but be more attuned to what's going on locally right where they're at. Because like the present elections that's coming up, people need to understand what these people at the PSC does, why they are there, who they are. They don't just show up right behind Kent when he has a speech to say. They're there, they've been there, but we have not seen them because they do not come and they do not represent our interests as ratepayers. Mine is to do what I can do for my community and to also to change what I see in the government here in Georgia. Like I always tell my friends, my second older sister taught me how to do a cosmetic treatment. I like to do the lips, the eyes, and the eyebrow. I want to change the House of Representatives, the lips, the Senate, the eyes, and the governorship that eyebrow. I thank you guys for having me.
Thank you, Michael. Really excited to see how your campaign turns out next year. So now I'm going to introduce Sam Collier. Sam lives in Lake Claire with his wife, who is very involved in our activities. I think I ran into Janie at a Fair Districts event. And Sam has been working with the Fighting 50 as a volunteer and would like to share an idea he has with all of you.
Thanks, Pam. I am so glad that Pam Woodley and Bob Herndon started the Fighting 50. It was I'm a longtime friend of Bob's, and he was telling me he wanted to flip the House by 2030 because the House is going to draw districts for itself and the state Senate and the congressional seats. So there's a lot at stake in these House races. And so for them to start the Fighting 50, it inspired me to say, you know what, I would like to find citizens to support each of these candidates. And so I came up with this idea, circles of support, and I wanted to keep it extremely simple. If you say, yes, I'll be a circle of support to a candidate, you get matched with a candidate. And the least thing, the first step is to schedule a Zoom call with the candidate and as many of your friends from around the country as you can get, because a lot of us live in blue districts, blue states. But if you can bring everybody together and let the candidate present to them, it's a meet and greet, but it will turn into a fundraiser when people realize what's at stake and what this candidate is doing. I mean, when you hear Michael and Cathy and Defonio, going places, it takes a lot of courage. And it's going to be disappointing. And so I wanted to have a group of folks who say, we've got your back when you've been out campaigning and going door to door and you're discouraged, you want to give a call, hear a friendly face, but at the very least, have an initial Zoom fundraiser. If you decide to have another one, if you decide to do volunteer events, if you decide that you have friends, we had last time, Janie and I had friends coming in from California, I'm from Colorado, and they did election tourism. They stayed with us and they went door to door for a candidate. And then we had friends from Boulder and they came and did the same thing. So we were literally bringing volunteer power in from blue Colorado into, these rural districts. They would have never known how to find these folks except the fact that we were tied in with circles of support. So if you will send me, if you'd be interested in this, just send me, I'm putting my email back, just send me an email that you would like to be connected to a candidate, and I will do that. And then I'll send you the minimum requirements, which really is just the Zoom fundraiser, then ongoing support and inviting people to, because if you think about it, you can do phone banking for a candidate from anywhere in the country. And you can obviously come in and do election tourism, but you can write letters, all the things, I don't know how many of you got postcards in one of these critical elections. Please vote for so-and-so. You are not only voting for them, you're already working and donating to them. But someone in another state said, I think I can swing Georgia if I just write enough Democrats. So these candidates can tell you exactly who they're trying to reach. And your volunteerism and your friends' volunteerism, wherever they are in the country, will be magnified by the fact that these brave candidates are on the ground trying to swing, moderates, awaken sleeping Democrats, and now, being there for disaffected Republicans who, wish they had maybe done something a little different. So just let me know if you'd like to be matched, and we'll match up with somebody. And that's all for me.
Thank you, Sam. Yeah, or you could just put in the chat circles of support and your name and email, and we will get them to Sam.
Okay.
And that concludes our part of the agenda. Becky or Aquaria?
Thank you so much. I just want to first thank Gareth and Pam for bringing our guest here. And for those who listened, let's just say one of the running themes that I kept hearing, if you think about where we are headed, just just locally with the state of Georgia. And you don't even have to think about it nationally. But one of the things that we heard was, these people were running because one, there was no representation. There was no people that heard their voice. There was no one there to represent them. And I mean, we could just see it like trickle up. There's nobody there that's representing our voices, right? And so here we have these people who have raised their hand to say yes. And so thank you so much for doing that. And you're doing it with passion, with vigor. And we are here to support you. And we know in rural America, just like where we sit here, that, there are issues there and there are concerns there. And so we're there to support you. And, one of the things that kept coming to me was that, you wanted to give people a choice, give them a win, a blue dot in a red sea. But one thing that kept coming to me, and this was something of a point, which is that to believe in the awesome wonder of diversity. And people, that is just what it is. That, we all are not alike, but yet we all have so many things that we have so many commonalities. And so thank you, thank you, thank you so much for coming and sharing your story. And we are there with you 100%. Thank you so much for people that are interested. Please make sure that you've placed your information, name, email in the chat so that we can send it out appropriately, whether you're interested in the Rural Council. And also for those a circle of support so we can get that out as well. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to Becky.
Thank you, Aquaria. And just echoing, that was really deeply and profoundly inspiring. Lots of heroism in those presentations. And I wanted to just kind of summarize also that there are three really important ways that Necessary Trouble will be working in partnership with rural candidates and organizations and efforts. And one of them is by continuing to support the fine and crucial work of the Fighting 50. And that has been ongoing and will continue, and much gratitude to Pam for her leadership and to everybody who's involved in that. The second is what Gareth had mentioned. Gareth and Lisa Vu will be spearheading whatever support the Rural Council would like from Necessary Trouble. We will be there. And so we don't know exactly what that's going to look like, but that's also going to be a significant piece of what we hope to, way in which we hope to partner. And finally, we'll be hearing more about this at subsequent meetings. But one of the things also that we will be doing is we will be working for a municipal slate of candidates in a rural area, and you'll be hearing more from Aquaria about that. So lots of appreciation for all of that. As we turn the ship a little bit, we are going to start focusing more on some of the other kinds of work that Necessary Trouble is doing and hearing updates. And before we do that, those of you who have been with Necessary Trouble for a long time know that we hardly ever fundraise for Necessary Trouble. We fundraise for everything else you can think of, but we almost never fundraise for Necessary Trouble. But every so often we do. And in the month of June, the National Indivisible organization is matching any donation that gets made to Necessary Trouble up to $500. And we are finding that we are spending more money. We are contributing financially to the protests and the actions that you've been seeing. We are doing that directly, and we are helping to buy supplies, and we are also hoping increasingly to have in-person gatherings and hope to just be able to provide, basic food and drink like we did at Manual's a couple of months ago. So Karen McCowan has just dropped in the chat a donation link to our Act Blue account right above. And I would just ask if you can help support Necessary Trouble financially. We rarely ask, and we won't ask again for a while, but this would be enormously helpful. And if you go there now, you will be able to migrate back to this and you won't lose the Zoom. And Pat has just pointed out, Mimi, it looks like your hand is up. I think that might have been up for a while. Do you have a question that you're waiting to ask?
Yes, just quickly, I might supposed to know this, but Sam mentioned something about by 2030 districts or voting areas are going to have some power to do something.
Yes.
Redistricting. Is there an easy way to just describe that succinctly?
Absolutely. I will describe it with a couple of sentences, and Janet Grant can come in behind me and do a much better job, I'm sure. The very short version is that every 10 years, based on the new census, there is redistricting. There is a redrawing of the maps. And whenever that happens, and especially if the Republicans are in power, they get to draw the maps at the state level. So whoever is in power in the state legislature on those at 2030 is in charge of the maps, and basically who's in charge of the maps, that's the game, right? Because of gerrymandering. Does that make sense?
Yeah, sorry. I should know.
Janet, anything you want to
by being on this call. So.
No, it's beautiful. It's a beautiful question. Thank you.
Yeah, and I think that's exactly right, Becky. The other thing I might just add is that both chambers have to pass the maps. So if we can flip one chamber, and in this state right now, probably more likely on the House side, then they have to work together, and we'd have split government, and that might be the best for fair maps. Thank you.
Beautiful. Thank you.
Can I add one other thing? Because Pam mentioned fair districts. There is one sliver of hope that as Georgia trends blue, that the Republicans would say, "Oops, they're going to do to us what we've been doing to them," which is what Dems used to do to the ours. But rather than letting it go back to Dems, that someone would come up with a commission to redistrict, and that is something that could happen as it looks conceivable that the flips would happen by 2030. Just want to add that as a possibility too.
Great. Thank you. Very important. Okay, so the link to donate for Necessary Trouble is in the chat. We will also send it out and remind folks, and our great gratitude for all forms of support that all of you provide to Necessary Trouble by your presence, your dollars, and your work. And speaking of work, let me share my screen of the updates that we're going to be hearing about work underway. And every piece of this work that is being shared is something that we need your help with. Before I keep going, can I just ask if folks who are not muted would go ahead and mute themselves? That would be really helpful. Thank you so much. Okay. Okay, so first up is, and this is a relatively new group, and so I'm so glad to be hearing from them, and I'm so eager for you all to hear what has been underway in terms of the Necessary Trouble support for actions and protests. Susan Paulucones, would you please jump in and talk to us about the work that you guys have been doing?
I absolutely will. Thank you so much, Becky. I'm really excited to talk to folks about this today. I have slides, but I don't want to drive people crazy with them. So I will just talk out of the side of my head. So I wanted to start by just setting a little bit of context about why we protest. I have had so many conversations recently as I've gotten more into this with really disaffected friends and neighbors who have said protesting doesn't make any difference, it doesn't change anything. And I beg to differ, which is why I'm here. Protest really makes the goals of a movement clear via the messaging you do at a protest, via the media coverage and so on. I think one of the big things that people don't recognize is how much protesting builds coalitions. It brings all kinds of diverse people together, diverse organizations together around particular issues that they care about. And that is so powerful in any movement. And then for me, the biggest part of it has been the building of community. I felt very isolated and a lot of despair after January 20th, after November as well. And coming into this space and really starting to bring together folks and get this work, this important work done, has completely changed my outlook. And I've watched that happen with other people as well. We have become empowered, our voices are being heard, and it's really important. So the overarching theme of all this is that in protests, protesters matter, numbers matter, the awareness that you're building matters, even if it is not directly driving change in the government. It changes things in the movement. So as Becky said, Necessary Trouble has not really been in the protest space as much until recently, and now a lot of work is going on. We're supporting a lot of organizations and IGC protests as well as other organizations who are protesting. So a lot of the work has been around planning, organizing for those kinds of things. Becky mentioned fundraising. I had no idea until I got into this how expensive it is to put on a permitted protest. No Kings will cost the IGC groups around $28,000, and that's just one protest. And so we do have to do some fundraising around this. Necessary Trouble has been working hard on training volunteers, on recruiting volunteers. I know you've gotten 9 million messages from us, but it's important, and just overall encouraging protesting. So I want to talk about the different roles that you can play to engage with this work. First and foremost, the most important person at a protest is a protester. If this is what calls to you, create a sign, bring a friend. It's always a good idea to go in groups to protests. They are very safe. I want to say in Georgia right now, I know what some of the stuff that's happened is scary, but I don't think we need to be worrying about that in this moment. But all of the rest of these jobs are here to support protesters. So that's the first thing you can do and probably the most important. We really need general volunteers and so appreciate them. There's no training that goes on for general volunteers. Just sign up, come, set up tables, set up tents, hand out water, direct traffic. Recently, we've been getting some requests for very specific general volunteers, which is kind of fun. We have requests right now for folks who will be chant leaders at one of the protests that I'll talk about in a minute, as well as banner holders in some of the marches and things like that. So there's a lot of interesting jobs you can do as a general volunteer. And the nice thing is you can often join the protest as well. So they're not mutually exclusive. Marshals require a little bit of training. We ask that people do de-escalation training. It's absolutely marvelous. I did it earlier this week, and it was just one of the best training experiences I've had. Marshals do de-escalation. They do crowd control. They are essentially the eyes and the ears of the organizers in the crowd, keeping track of what's going on and any issues that are coming up. So they're very, very important roles. For the No Kings protest that we'll talk a little bit more about on June 14th, we really do need more marshals to come out. So if you're interested in that at all, please put your name in the chat and we will follow up with you. Medics also require some training. Our final training that will qualify you to be a medic in the June 14th No Kings protest is Monday. So if you're interested in that, please also put your name in the chat and we'll follow up with you. We'll get you the information about the training tomorrow night. But medics are really there to keep the crowd safe and keep them healthy and deal with any issues that come up. It's usually about heat. It's usually about skinned knees or sprained ankles or things like that. The training is more rigorous than that, but it's just a really helpful set of skills to know. And then finally, organizers. We have an amazing team, Anissa, Tony, Alyssa, Conrad, and I, kind of led by Becky. I think as much as she has the time to do with all her many, many jobs that she's doing, but we could definitely use more folks organizing with us. Many hands make light work, and you bring new points of view and important things into it. So let us know if you'd be interested in that. I am going to share the slide just for this one slide so you can see the protests that we have. So we have several that are coming up right now that are really important that we really want to nudge people to go to. One, first are two CDC rallies, one tomorrow and one on June 10th. Both will have speakers. Both are around the budget work that is happening in DC right now and the importance of fully funding the CDC. Karen is going to put these links in the chat too, so you don't have to write them down. We just yesterday came up with a time and a place and a date for the Rodney Taylor ICE action that is going to happen June 25th. It's going to be at from 12 to 2. It will be a rally at the Atlanta ICE offices. I don't have a link yet, but if you put your name in the chat and tell us that you're interested in that, we'll follow up. Rodney Taylor, folks may know, is the Liberian American who's been held by ICE since mid-January. He is a double amputee. He cannot use a wheelchair for physical reasons, and he has not been allowed to use his prosthetics. So he has been essentially immobile since mid-January. It's a horrible story. That rally is very important. The No Kings rally, I think, has been mentioned a number of times. Again, we would love more volunteers for that. It was just announced that SEIU will be holding a rally for David Huerta, who was part of everything that happened in Los Angeles this weekend, support for him. And then I also have a link that Karen will put in the chat for just general information from ACLU Georgia about protesting and your rights and how to stay safe and all those kinds of things. And finally, Karen, if you don't mind putting Tony's email in the chat, if folks want to think about it a little bit and then follow up with us after the meeting, Tony is the person to email and let her know what you're interested in, what your questions are, what your concerns are, and she will follow up with you. That's it. Thank you.
Susan, thank you so very much. I want to just give so many props to that work group. And I want to say that just as an example, and this has all really been put together in the last 6 weeks or so, but we have at this point, in terms of our participation with the Indivisible Georgia Coalition's effort to create the No Kings Day, Necessary Trouble is contributing at least 7 or 8 of the medics, of the 28 medics, are Necessary Trouble. 6 or 7 of the marshals are Necessary Trouble, and 5 or 6 of the volunteers are also troublers. And in terms of the leadership, Conrad Hayashi and Susan Palucanes, who have been part of the lead team for all of the coalition for the medics, troubler Anissa Alexander has been, and Denise Wright have been co-leads for putting together the group of marshals for all the coalition, and troubler Alyssa Cobb has been lead point person for putting together the team of volunteers. Jen Hankins, our comms person, has designed the graphic. We have been really deep in here because of the fine work of these folks. So tremendous gratitude to all of you who have signed up, especially to volunteer or to marshal or to be a medic. And if you haven't and are open to it, please check the chat for links. So great gratitude. Joan, do you have a question about this?
Yes, I do. I noticed that the rally is at Liberty Plaza. And when I went to the last, the march from Piedmont Park to Liberty Plaza, by the time I got to Liberty Plaza, I wasn't allowed in because there was a fire marshal's limit. Are we not expecting a large crowd this time?
Two responses. The last time the hands-off event was done in collaboration with 5051. They brought a lot of people. This time it is a more complicated day. 5051 will be not focusing on the morning event, so we don't expect quite the same number. And also we are really promoting this as to not be in conflict with the Juneteenth action, which is the same day, which is a parade at noon and afternoon festivities. So the short version is we are not expecting 25,000 people. We are going to have to cut it off at about 5,000 inside Liberty Plaza and have gotten a permit to assemble just outside the fence, but still within hearing range. So it would be good to get there early, but we don't expect the same numbers. Susan, is that a fair response?
That is a fair response. The only thing I would add is that it was really challenging to find a site for this particular action. I don't think that Liberty Plaza was anybody's first choice for that very concern, but sometimes you go with what you can get.
Thanks for the question. Okay. Next up we're also going to hear from, and I had mentioned Jen Hankins, our communications lead. It is a miracle to me that after 8 years, Necessary Trouble has a communications team. How about that? Isn't that amazing? And Jen Hankins is the lead and has been upping our game with support from her team. Jen, let me turn this over to you with our great gratitude.
Okay, well, I just have a quick update. It's the comms group, and our job is just really to support all the wonderful work that everybody else is doing, to amplify it and make sure that all of our members hear about it and have the opportunity to participate. And so right now we're doing, we have Facebook, Instagram, the wonderful newsletter that Pat puts out every week, and then our website that Nancy does. And we have gained a few members so that have enhanced some of these platforms. And so I would encourage everybody to follow us on as many of those avenues as possible, because we love to hear the support. Our Facebook page, Sherry does a great job of updating it pretty much daily. So it's a great way to get any kind of current information that's going on within Necessary Trouble. We also have other members that are posting information and events on it also. So we can really build a community around it if we have our members following us, liking, and commenting on our Facebook page. And then if you are interested, well, if you see anything that we are posting about, if you're interested in being more involved in something specific, you can comment there or private message us, and we check that every day so we can follow up with you. So that's one way to get involved. If you see something you like, reach out and let us know. And then if you are interested in volunteering with our group, as I said, we've taken on some really great people recently. Sherry, who's really doing a great job with our Facebook. We have Sonia, who's helping us overhaul our website. And so we welcome anybody who would like to help us. Specifically, we are looking for some more photographers so we can get photographs of our members doing all the great work that they're doing. And then once we get the website overhauled, we are going to be looking for people to help us maintain and update it. So that's a really key role that we would love somebody to come forward and help us with that. And then the last thing is that we will be putting out a survey to all old and new members, and we really hope that you will respond, fill it out to let us know. This is an opportunity to let us know your skills and interests, because we want to make sure that we are tapping everybody's skills so we can put them to good use and sort of up our impact. So that you should be able to see that this week. Hopefully that'll be going out. And I think that's it, unless there's anything I missed.
Beautiful, Jen. Thank you so much. Thank you for helping us up our game and increase our impact. We are next going to be hearing from Pam Wachet, who will give us a little bit of updates about the Public Service Commission, also talk a little bit about a couple of other updates. And Pam, I know I'm going to pull up that slide for you, but you go ahead and take it over.
Thank you very much here. And thanks, Becky, for putting the Public Service Commission schedule on the opening slide and everything, because it underscores just what an important year and what an important election this is. So with that, and I was happy to see that Cathy Frederickson's platform also included like things like fair energy and broadband, which again underscores how important this is for everyone across the state and such. I wanted to come on. I know that there's been a lot of discussion about this just in terms of updating people in terms of where things stand. Becky mentioned that indeed Daniel Blackman, whom Necessary Trouble has endorsed, that indeed he has a court case that is pending, which will be heard on Tuesday. And my understanding is there will be a very quick turnaround as far as the decision there. So we're hoping that by Wednesday or Thursday at the latest, we would be hearing about that. So we are hoping we're going to do a bigger push once, in fact, we find out that Daniel is in the clear on those kinds of things. There will not be time to do things like canvassing, but we do anticipate that we would be doing that in the fall and around the general election, in conjunction and hopefully interaction with the municipal races and such. We do need, once we do find out, the big push, as noted by this slide here, is to help people understand that the election is occurring at all. It is an off year, and a lot of people just are not aware about this. So bless the DeKalb Dems and everything for coming up with this sign. So we have a number of these that are now over at Becky and Pat's house. And it's about, I think Karen said it were about 20 of them over there. If in fact you have a great location for this, that we could get lots of visibility. If in fact, well, this is not an if, but with a request. The DeKalb Dems are, they could use some money and everything. And so Karen said, if in fact you could donate $5 if you take a sign, or even if you don't take a sign, that would be fantastic. And Karen, I think you have that link for the DeKalb Dems that we can put into the chat and such. But just to try to raise awareness around that, there are also signs over there for Daniel. If it turns out that Daniel does not win this case, he has a good, strong chance at that. But if he does not, there are two other Dems on the ticket, Peter Hubbard and Robert Jones. And so still, it is super, super important to spread the word about the election and getting a Democrat there, because if you have been reading up on the Public Service Commission at all, you know that one of the big things in terms of social justice in our state right now is to turn that. We might have a harder time in terms of the Georgia House, but we have 3 years with an election this year, next year, and the following year to completely transform the Public Service Commission here. Also to do that, you'll be hearing more once we hear about Daniel's case and everything. And bless Jen Hankins for help with comms and everything. But we will be sending out to people and put again, we've got a whole list of volunteers. But if you have not volunteered, if you are not on our list, please put your name, your email, and ideally your telephone number as well in the thing, and we will make sure that you have information, even if you're not going to go hit the mats in December, I mean, not December, November and October and all. Still, we will be sending out things that will be an email piece that you can send to your friends and neighbors and let them know about the election. We will be sending out a piece that you can print and that you can use to kind of walk around your neighborhood while you're taking a walk, let people know about this. So by all means, put your information in the chat. And also, if you are willing to phone bank, and I'm going to make Valerie Manson, who is our dedicated phone bank lead, is not here right now. She's on a trip. So she asked if, in fact, we also would look for people who are willing on that phone banking there. That's something that the DeKalb Dems are doing. It's something that we are going to be doing. We will have a link with Daniel's Daniel's campaign on that, and with also with the DeKalb Dems in any case here. So we need phone bankers. It's one of the quickest ways and best ways to kind of get out information. And I think that is just about it, other than I know Karen mentioned it on the voter protection and such. There's also, again, more need for phone bankers because there are, and I know we sent this to the voter protection team there, but for a phone banking that'll even be tomorrow evening around changes in polling locations for the primary and that people need to be aware of. There's another one around registrations and people checking their registrations. So by all means, sign up, sign up, sign up. And if you can, let us know what you would be willing to do. Phone bank, put a sign out, canvas. And Becky, I did see that Lisa Coronado put something in the chat in regard to the June 23rd Public Service Commission meeting. And again, I don't know where we are with that, but if you want to be convinced of the need for voting for the Public Service Commission, go to that meeting, and in any case, go to it to provide support for clean energy.
Thank you. And Lisa, was that what you were going to mention? Is that you with your hand up? Do you want to do, can you do it in 1 minute?
Yes. Okay. So Georgia Power is trying to massively increase its amount of electricity generation, almost totally for data centers and mostly using fossil fuels. On June 23rd at the Georgia Public Service Commission hearing, we're trying to get a lot of people down there to make public comments directly to the commissioners. There's going to be a busload coming from Savannah. Other groups are going to get involved. This could be the most impactful climate action you can ever take, because we could possibly get more media attention. And I put a link in there. I'll put it in again. And I put my email information. If you wanted to take this action, please do reach out to me.
Beautiful. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for adding that, and we will absolutely promote it. And I also just wanted to remind us all that in addition to the two men that Pam Wishay mentioned running in the same race as Daniel, there is also Keisha Waits. So they're actually Daniel plus those three candidates. Just wanted to make sure that we
Sorry about that.
no worries, but spoke all their names. So much gratitude for all of that. And we'll see what happens on Tuesday. And at this point, I want to turn it over to an update about our support for trans youth. Patrice Hutcherson, who leads that work group along with Gareth. Patrice, thank you so much. Thank you for all you are doing. And let me turn it over to you.
Thank you. I'm Patrice Hutcherson. I am a co-leader with Gareth, and Gareth keeps me on task because I'm a brand new member. So I don't know the ritual and routines of this powerhouse of a group, and I don't ever want to overstep. So what I just put in the chat here are the dates that we will be meeting consistently for our group. We call ourselves the Transgender Youth Truth Group. Gareth added the truth part because so many misinformation is being sent out that children are going to go to school and come back instead of being a boy, they're going to be a girl, or, some crazy antic that even here recently, one of the transgender youth was able to participate in a sporting activity. And I don't know if he thought she was going to be shooting laser from her eyeballs, but she went and participated, and the athletes were the ones that actually supported her and said, let her run, let her do whatever she wants. It's not affecting how I'm performing. So many different gaslighting slogans are being put out there. Another link that I just put in the chat, along with the dates that we're meeting, will be our transgender youth form that you can share your information if you'd like to be a part of our meetings. Like I said, we will be meeting every second Thursday at 5 p.m. virtually, and Gareth will be in charge of sending out that information. And she's in charge of it because she wants to make sure that you register before we let just random people into we want to kind of know who's coming in because we're dealing with our children and we want to protect them. And then the next thing is I put in the chat in that same chat stream and I'll put it in one more time. And Gareth, if you could please just copy paste it, put it in if you like, is the proclamation that was sent out by our president that and they use wording that we're trying to protect our children and we want them to love themselves the way God made them. Well, God has made all of us differently, and we know what God has said to us, but the way that this Christian nationalism is being infiltrated into wording from our government, it now makes it seem like this is child abuse. And so there is a proclamation from the president that giving children gender affirming care or any type of support would be deemed child abuse. And right now, it has not been instated as a law, but Gareth is very insightful. She's saying we need to keep an eye on it to make sure it does not turn into a law, and if it does, how we can combat against it. And that's by learning the truth. So, three things are in the chat for you. Our dates that we're meeting, and we would love to have you, but just kind of have the idea, the reason we are very intentional about how we share our information is because we want to keep it confidential and have it as much as vetting as we can. Secondly, please fill out our Google form that I shared with everyone. Hopefully, you're able to everyone is able to click on it, and that's fine because all we're doing is collecting your information. And it'll only be between Gareth and myself because we're the only leaders for this group. And then thirdly is just to be aware of the misinformation that's being spewed against our children, especially our transgender youth children, how they're using it as uh, a gaslighting tactic to take off the thought the issues, the real issues at hand, and that's that we need to focus on making our world a peaceful place to live in and a viable place to live in. We need to have better care. We need to have but don't let me, there's a soapbox I'm getting onto. So those three things are there. And hopefully, as we collect the information, you guys will get more times to learn what we're sharing. And our next meeting is coming up on Thursday, June 12th. We'll have it every second Thursday. So just in the nick of time on June 12th, if you want to hear more of me stumbling around because I want to make sure I'm saying it right. Please join in. Oh, by the way, I'm a school counselor and Gareth is a social worker, and that's why I think we really understand the reason we have to be first guarded, and then secondly, that we have to stay vigilant to keep our children safe from ridiculous laws and proclamations that are being put out there. So that's it. That's all I have. I'm gonna have to hop off, Gareth, because I have class work to do. But I at least wanted to make sure that I shared that part. So hopefully it works out. Thank you.
Beautiful.
Did
Thank
I
you,
do 3 minutes? How many did I do?
You
I don't
did
know.
beautiful. Whatever you did was beautiful, Patrice. You did beautiful.
Thanks, Patrice.
And huge gratitude for the leadership of both Patrice and Gareth and the tremendous, tremendous allies. They are incredible allies. Gratitude beyond all measure to them.
I didn't make mention that yesterday Tony, and I didn't even get Tony's last name. We went to the drag from down south. It was a pride event, that the only pride event across the nation that we know of, that was held in front of the East Point City Council. She stayed there with me the whole time. We had a great time, but just to have that validation that there are other people who are going to support you as a human. We had one of our parents that actually brought her transgender son there. And we just, I mean, it was not a protest, but it was a validation activism event that we typically go to because I went to all of the queen bingos that were held by Georgia Equality. And it was a lot of fun. So, Tony, if you're on here, I really enjoyed you. I didn't get your last name, but I'm going to text you.
Thank you, Patrice. It's Tony.
Story, and I had a wonderful time. It was
Thank,
awesome. You guys missed a great party.
That's wonderful. Thanks to all of you. That lovely, lovely, lovely. Really, really appreciate it, all that you're doing. We're now going to shift to the Immigrant and Refugee Support Work Group. And Tara, I'm going to bring up your slides.
Hey, everyone. So I am I'm the lead, along with Martha Reese, of this extraordinary working group in Necessary Trouble. We're new to Necessary Trouble, but I'd say we're mighty, and we're making some really good trouble. We meet on the first Sunday of every month. We have 75 members, and we have 6 subgroups, and I'll talk about a few of them today, particularly our new ones. And we usually meet by Zoom, but last weekend we had an in-person potluck, and it was really sweet to be together in person. When we do Zoom, we usually have a guest speaker, one of the people involved with the groups that we partner with, groups that are involved 24/7 with supporting, protecting immigrants and refugees. And so, next slide, please. One of our really robust partnerships at the moment is with Casa Alterna. And we have very regular things that people are doing, and you'll see some of them here, including Tony, Connie, and others. And Casa Alterna has people, volunteers, purchasing food and other supplies, and then going to a particular location to distribute, to share that food with people. So you see that happening here on the slide. Another regular thing that people are doing with Casa Alterna and its director, Anton Flores, is to go to immigration court, where people are lining up and waiting in line, often with children, families, individuals, to go into a court date or a check-in or a bond hearing. And as I think a lot of you are aware, there's a new ugliness afoot, which is that those immigration judges are dismissing the cases, which initially brought great joy to people, and then people walked out without any status and were picked up by ICE. And so these are really terrifying places to be. And so our groups and the other volunteers that work with Anton on the immigration court lines are there to offer hospitality, granola bars, water, information, know your rights, do you need a place to stay? So it's radical hospitality, I would say, that our people and others are offering under the rubric of Casa Alterna. Next slide, please. A new subgroup that we have, which is also integrally related to a couple of our partners, is called Bears for Kids. And this is a group that is now making bears, and you can see them here, aren't they spectacular? Either by themselves. The lead of this group, Dano McDonald, has created patterns that he sends to people by email in order to do it on your own. But also there's going to be a gathering on the 25th of June. And by the way, if you're interested at all in being involved in any of these groups, please, obviously, you know the drill. Put your name and your phone number and your email in the chat. You can just say IRW, Immigrant Refugee Work Group, but you can also specify Bears for Kids, okay? So we have now given over 80 bears to El Refugio and to the Casa Alterna Immigration Court line. There's an extremely beautiful blog post by Anton about sort of the heart dimension of this practice as people are standing in the immigration court line, terrified to have this kind of hospitality and care, empathetic care, to give children stuffed bears. Yep. Next slide, please. This is another new partnership that we are crafting right now. And for my immigrant refugee compadres, this is maybe new to you as well. This is an umbrella organization called Welcome Co-op. They're out in Tucker, and they are the umbrella over 4 very high-powered, effective refugee groups. That would be Inspiritus, Catholic Charities, I have it written down, International Rescue Committee, and New American Pathways. And together, those groups have a warehouse where donations go to help refugees set up house, right, when they first come here. More and more volunteers are needed because federal funding has been removed from most of these organizations, right? But you can see this extraordinary warehouse with cleaning supplies, household supplies. There's a free thrift shop called the Shop of Hope. And this group, under the leadership now of David Ray, is looking for volunteers to work in the store, to help in the warehouse, to say you have donations to give. And we're going to put in the chat also where you could give financial donations to all these extraordinary groups. But this is a brand new partnership. And when Martha and I started this, we really wanted as much as possible to partner with people and to have them tell us what they need, not for us to think what we need to be doing. And it's growing. I'm really, really proud and excited by what the work of quite a lot of you are doing. And then the slides that I don't have, and I'm going to let my co-lead Martha talk about, is, of course, we've heard about the protests, and this is going to be big news this week, right, as it is out on the West Coast. We want people to show up for protests to support our immigrant and refugee brothers and sisters. There's one tomorrow, right? And then there will be one that Susan also talked about for Rodney Taylor that El Refugio is organizing, and that's on June 25th. So we will be putting things about that in the newsletter. But I wanted to say that is another thing that people in the Immigrant Refugee Work Group do, is we show up on the streets too, but we want to invite everybody to join us in whatever way feels right for you. So the last thing is, Martha, if you could unmute yourself and just do a little pitch for El Refugio's fundraising, that would be great.
So after you get detained at the immigration court, they send you to Stewart Detention Center, which is one of a series of detention centers around the country that are really concentration camps. El Refugio supports detainees with a hotline. They have a hospitality house that receive families. We support the families with gas cards, and they need money, and they also need weekend volunteers to help staff the house, so when families come to visit their loved ones, they can have a place to stay and a little bit of support. So I put that in the chat too. It's a wonderful group and following people through. Keep it up. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you to Tara and Martha for their terrific leadership. Thank you also to the leads of all the subgroups and to all the folks in that work group doing such extraordinary work. Much, much appreciation. We're going to ask now Anne-Marie Schwarzkopf. Anne-Marie, would you say a little bit about canvassing?
Yes, I'm really excited to take this on, this new role. I just have 3 things that I wanted to mention. Of course, Pam talked about the PSC, and although we're not going to be able to canvass for this primary. We will definitely be canvassing for the winner in the November election. So that's definitely one. But we do have an immediate canvassing project if we want to take it on, and I'll describe it and then we'll see if we have enough volunteers. But Deborah Shigley is running for the open seat in District 21, state Senate seat that was vacated by Brandon Beach, who's now the U.S. Treasurer, thanks to Trump. So it is an open jungle primary, and as Becky said, there are lots of Republicans running. I think there are actually 6, so it's a total of 7 candidates that are running. And if somebody gets a majority, then they win. But if the 2 top vote getters in the August 26th election will go to a runoff in September. So we're aiming to get her at least in the top 2 by August 22nd. The big well, and we're definitely doing phone banking help, but the issue here is that her district is North Fulton and Cherokee County. So anybody who volunteers for canvassing would have to understand that that is a good 45-minute hour drive one way. So anybody volunteering, please make sure you can do that. And then the third thing I was going to mention is I'm sure we're going to have other opportunities for canvassing in the fall. So that'll be my main ask. So I actually have 3 asks. If you would put this in the chat. If you do think you can volunteer to canvass for Deborah, and her canvassing is on Saturdays and Sundays, and it's very well organized. You just sign up and meet at a certain place, and her campaign is on top of things, and I would facilitate it, but I don't have to run it. So if you think you can do that, put in the chat Deborah, your name and email and phone. Otherwise, if you could just let me know that you want to do canvassing in general, that just put down fall canvassing, and that'll be for the PSC and any other opportunities we have. So fall canvassing, your name and contact information. And then lastly, I am new to this job, and I understand that it's best to do this work with a team. So I would really like somebody to step up and say they will co-lead with me, help me. I've been shown the ropes by Karen and Tara and Pam and Becky and Pat, but I really would love to have another supporter. So if you would put that in the chat, co-lead and your name and contact information. So that's all I have.
Anne Marie, thank you so much. Let me also say something about the heroic nature of people who take leadership in necessary trouble, right? None of anything you've heard, this whole whatever, would be happening without people willing to step up and co-lead. And so these folks are our heroes, and Anne Marie is wonderful to be willing to step into this, and I just want to really encourage anybody who would be willing. We have a number of folks on this call who are good canvassers. I know you, I see you, I've seen you in the pictures, I know you're there. So if any of you, whether or not you've even ever canvassed before, would be willing to be a co-point person on this with Anne Marie, please put your name in the chat. We would be tremendously grateful, and great gratitude to Anne Marie for willing to take this on. And finally, we would love to hear about the state election board work and the board of registration and elections in DeKalb. Janet, let me turn this over to you.
Okay, great. Thanks, Becky. Happy to be here and have a couple of minutes just to, mostly what I want to do is thank everybody that stepped up and helped us advocate to the judge here in DeKalb County about the GOP board nominees that we were so concerned about. We don't know yet what her decision is. I was hoping we would know that by today, but we will know that very soon because the new board positions go into effect. The new term goes into effect on July the 1st. So we had an extraordinary support from so many folks across Necessary Trouble. And many of you also reached out to elected officials, and we got elected officials to advocate to the judge. So I think we put our best foot forward. I spoke with someone from DPG earlier today, and she was very impressed with the work that Necessary Trouble did on this. I also know that we did have one opening on the Dem side for the board, and I believe that position was filled. There were quite a number of nominees for that, but that is not yet public, probably pending the judge also doing the routine approval for that. So we'll let you all know as soon as we know. But the rumors that I'm hearing, I think we'll be happy. So the one thing that has already been mentioned a couple of times, and I just put in the chat, is that the Board of Elections here in DeKalb just set up an emergency board meeting for tomorrow morning at 10 a.m. We're not going to ask people to run out to that meeting because it really probably will just be a few minutes. And the purpose of the meeting is that there are 2 poll locations, 2 schools that have backed out of being a poll location here at the last minute due to construction at their schools. And so the board needs to approve those changes. So the real need here is to let those voters in those 2 precincts know that their poll location has changed. Of course, the county will be sending out mailers, and there'll be signs at the old poll location. But knowing the mail, I doubt that's going to get there before the June 17th election. So we really need folks to help us just reach out to these 2 precincts to let them know that their location has changed. And then finally, just to let you know, again, we have our regular meetings that we are attending. And I, again, thank so many folks for coming out. For DeKalb Board of Elections, the critical certification meeting for this election is going to be held on June 23rd at noon at the usual location. You can sign up on Sign Up Genius to attend with us. And then the next state election board meeting is scheduled for July the 29th, extending to the 30th if necessary. So we'll be sharing more as we learn more about what the agenda for that meeting is as well. So again, really thanks for, in particular, all the effort on making sure that we have some reasonable nominations from the GOP for our Board of Elections here in DeKalb County. Thank you, Becky.
Beautiful. Thank you so much, and so much gratitude to Janet and Karen McCowan and Michael Beach for their stellar leadership in this regard. We have had really good, really, as Janet said, such powerful attendance and really powerful public comments. And I think this is an area where we can genuinely, truly, authentically say Necessary Trouble has made a significant difference. And that is amazing. Those are our updates. I want to really just acknowledge and appreciate all the incredible work that has gone on. If we can just really join me in appreciating all the team leads, all the volunteers, everybody who has been working so hard in so many different ways. This is just extraordinary. Thank you. So much gratitude. I want to just alert people to the next meeting, and then we do have an amazing song, I just want to say, but in case people have to peel off, let me show you when the next meeting will be. Give me a minute here to find this again. So Sunday, July 13th at 4 p.m. is going to be the next Necessary Trouble meeting. That will be a Zoom meeting. We are hoping that by August, we will have another in-person meeting at Manual's, but the date is TBD. And And so count on July on Zoom. And at this point, I'm going to go ahead and play this song. And please give me a little grace and be a little patient as I set this up. Those of you who have been with me for a while know that sometimes getting the audio and link is a little struggle filled. So be patient. It is worth the wait. Hold on one second.
While she sets it up, thank you, Becky.
Oh, thank you so much. Whoops. Oh, that's not going to work. Hold on one second. Give me a minute. I'm going to have to pull it up again. Okay, let me try this again. And let me just say something before I play this song. I'm hoping you'll be able to hear it once it starts. Those of you who have been with Necessary Trouble for a while know that we have often talked about the two pillars of our work. And one is that we work very hard. We work very, very hard. And the other is that we really aspire to have our work driven by love. And we've seen a lot in the public arena that has not been about love. And we hope to provide antidote in all kinds of ways. So here is what I sometimes think of as the Necessary Trouble theme song. And somebody tell me very loudly if you can't hear it. Woo! How about that? How about that?
Definitely worth it.
Very nice. So glad to those of you who stuck around. Carol Gorman, I see your moves. Nice to see people's dance moves. So much gratitude. How about if we just all come off mute and do a little hooting and hollering for all the great work being done by troublers all over. Thank you all. Thank you all for all the incredible work, and see you very soon, and see you in July, and see you in between doing the work. Lots of love, lots of love, lots of love.